Okay, so now we have a way to connect two separate apartment complexes with one post office. So a natural extension of this idea is to have lots and lots of post offices, and together they're going to connect all of the apartment complexes and all of the buildings in the world, and now we have a way to send messages to anywhere in the world. So this is what the IP or Internet Protocol is. All it does is it connects a whole bunch of local area networks with a whole bunch of routers. And if I ever want to send something from one machine on one local area network to another machine on a whole different local area network, no matter where it is in the world, then what I do is I'm going to send it to the router, and the router is going to hop to another router, and then to another router, and then to another router until it finds eventually the right local area network where the actual machine is on. So this is like if I want to send a message to someone all the way in Europe, then I'm going to still send a letter to my local post office. The post office is going to see it's meant for Europe, and it's going to send it to, I don't know, New York or something. And then at New York, the post office in New York is going to put it on a boat, and the boat's going to ship it to England or something. And then the post office in England will look at it and say, oh, this has to go wherever it has to go. So now I have this whole system of post offices, each one connecting one leg of my trip. And so just by making a lot of these small trips, I can now take my message and send it anywhere in the world, which is very cool. So, yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about how messages get across the internet, given this information you now know. You can think of the internet as like a graph. You know, this complicated network with a whole bunch of machines, and some machines are connected. So there's a lot of routers that are part of the infrastructure, the backbone of the internet, and those routers might be connected to each other and connected to people's machines. So if host A wants to send a message to host D, then we need to find a path through this graph from A to D. So let's talk about how that happens. It's going to happen by sending this packet kind of along this path. So there's going to be a packet, an IP, Internet Protocol packet, where the destination is host D. And host A might not know that whole path, might not know the whole graph. This graph is huge and is constantly changing, and you can't ever know the full graph, and it changes so fast. So the way it's going to work is that host A, we're going to discover this path as we go, hop by hop. So host A has a router that it knows to talk to, and it's going to give a packet to router number 1 saying, I have a packet destined for host D. Could you get it there, please? Okay? So router 1 is going to get that packet, and it might not know the whole graph and might not know how to get to host D. So what this router needs to know is it needs to know just enough to figure out how to get a little closer to D. Out of all the machines it's directly connected to, which one gets it a little bit closer? So then there's routing protocols, which I mostly won't tell you about, but you could take 168 to learn about, that enable the routers to figure out, enables router 1 to figure out, well, don't send it to router 4. That's not getting any closer to the host D. It's getting further away. But you could send it to router 5 and you'd be getting closer. Okay? So then router 1 knows just enough to pass it on to router 5 and make it router 5's responsibility. And now it's kind of like hot potato now. Like, okay, router 5's got to figure out what to do with this. Router 5 knows here's a packet destined for host D. Router 5's like, I'm not connected to host D. I don't know how to get to host D. I don't know the full path. I just got to find someone I'm connected to that will get this packet closer to host D. So it's the same deal. And the routing protocol will tell it that router 3 gets you a little bit closer. So it'll pass it on to router 3. And router 3 finally will say, I have a packet for host D. And aha, I'm connected to host D. So I'm going to pass it on to host D.